Hi, everybody. We are in the 8th hour of our Stream-a-thon, 30 hours, 8 hours. We're in our 8 hours. So I know that we're having some technical difficulties, so we're going to try to bring in Christy as soon as we can. But for right now, I'm going to give you some updates on what we've been doing. I would love to, can someone throw me the total dollar amounts that we have so far from our donations? So if someone could do that for me, that would be great. In the meantime, our list of auction items are still available. As you saw, I did have the a little boat, which has the mouthpiece is really cool. It talks. We have all kinds of still. I believe the a lot of our getaways are still available at the auction. We have so many fun stuff up there. I want to thank again some of our major donors. We have, as you can see up on our upper right corner, is our logos for all of our sponsors. So thank you all for getting us this far. As you can see, this is a giant endeavor. We wanted to show our community how much we love adventure and why we appreciate them. And there's Christy. Thank you. I think we ended up having to go with your phone, right?
Yes, sorry, guys.
No. Don't apologize. This is technology. That's what happens.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for joining us, because the conversation we had was so much fun.
It was.
So I know that we've already put the descriptions about who you are and what we're discussing. So again, Christy was a development person at Nickelodeon, and then did this amazing transition from development to writing. But you had always been a writer, and you wanted to be a filmmaker possibly. So I love all this stuff. So how are you doing? How's it out there right now?
I'm good. I'm actually in Minnesota right now, which is where I've been spending the pandemic, and it was very, very cold the past couple weeks. It was 26 below zero, and it was above freezing today. So we're having a heat wave.
Yeah, because you were connected to us with one of our board members, Melissa, because your parents knew each other, correct?
Yeah, my mother and Melissa work together.
Yeah, so thank you, Melissa, who is one of our big donors and sponsors for our event, and also a board member. Again, please text adventure to 56651. And really, Christy, just spending time with us was a gift. Is there anything that you'd love to say to our fans as we go to video?
Happy to be here, and this is a big lift for you guys, but I hope it works out, and keep telling stories. That's what makes us connected to one another, and I think it's what makes the world go around. So keep doing what you're doing. It's important work.
Yeah, thank you. And are we gonna get a chance to because do you play the guitar?
I do.
I'm gonna get you to play sometime. Not this time. I'm not gonna make you do it now. I know that'll be too much. But we gotta get you to play one time for us, because I think that'd be fun. Because that's part of, like, you also meditate, right? For yeah. So let's put the video up and get ready. Thank you, Christy, for popping in and saying hello.
Thank you.
And where are we on the video? I know this is so, like, because we have shifts of teams. So this is a new team that just came in for this block.
The night
so
shift.
So they're getting acclimated to all the stuff. Let's get the video up, please. And what you do is, okay, Jen, but you have to keep us on until the video starts. Yeah, and now go ahead and push play. So as soon as the video pops up, you're going to push play. And then we're going to stay on until, there you go. My name is Chill. So thank you, Christy.
Thank you, Chill, and bye, Adventure Theater. Good luck.
Thank you. Go ahead, push play.
Back. We're in the kind of late hours of our Stream-a-thon, but it is prime time for LA, which is why we're here with Christy Hedke. And that's correct, right? I'm pronouncing that correctly, right?
Yes.
Great. Okay, Christy. So let me introduce Christy. She is has been a fellow for the Warner Brothers Television's Writings Workshop, the Sundance Institute, Episodic Writing Lab, and a featured series creator at the Independence Filmmaker Project, IFP, Week. She went on to write for 4 seasons at Chilling Adventures of Sabrina on Netflix. Yay! She's also written on Nick Jr.'s animated series Sunny Day and has been a contributing writer for Filmmakers Magazine and Movie Maker Magazine before staffing as a writer. Now, Ms. Petke spent 4 years developing original content in Nickelodeon. So she's a content development person at Nickelodeon. And she began her career in production where she served as a PA on various TV shows and movies, including the original Gossip Girl, which I know y'all kids, like, you reference that as a classic, but I love that show.
Coming back.
And Factotum, which started Lily Taylor and Matt Dillon. She's been a long-term staffer at film festivals and stints at Sundance, Tribeca, and 16 years and counting with the Telluride Film Festival. Petke holds a BA in Mass Communications and a focus with film and TV production from the University of Denver. Yay! Thank you, Christy, for joining us.
Yeah, good to be here.
We're so excited to have you here, and I know a lot of our academy kids are really, really excited to have you here. But let's kind of start from the beginning, right? You have been a lot of interesting places. So you went to Denver University with focus to do communications with the focus of TV, but you also took, how long were you out? Because you went to New Zealand for.
Yeah, I studied abroad in New Zealand. I was in New Zealand for like 6 months. But it was very cold and rainy. But I'm from Minnesota.
You went in the summer.
Huh?
You went in the summer?
I went in summer in like the northern hemisphere, but in the southern hemisphere, the summer is the winter.
So
I had winter for 1.5 years because I spent the winter in the northern hemisphere, then the winter in the southern hemisphere, and then winter again. So luckily I like skiing because it was winter for a long time.
Well, I mean, you grew up in Minnesota, right?
Yes.
So going from that to Denver wasn't that different, and then going to the freezing, because I forget, New Zealand gets really cold.
It doesn't like freeze the way it does in Minnesota, but it's very close to the South Pole. So it is quite cold and rainy.
The equivalent weather is Ireland, right? People keep talking about New Zealand's kind of like Ireland. Is that?
Yeah, I think I lived in a town called Dunedin, which is named after Edinburgh. So I think it's kind of like Scotland.
Oh, okay. Was that because of Gaelic or the language?
That might have been who, like, from the Western world settled there. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
So I guess part of the question really is like, because, traveling abroad changes your perspective on the world. Do you feel like that actually helped, or, how do you think that has influenced the way you tell stories?
That's a really good question. I mean, yes, I think all travel kind of holds a mirror up to what you consider your everyday life. And, when you're on your own, away from everyone you have this very new vision of like who you are, because there's nobody else around you reinforcing who they think you are, who you're supposed to be. And so, yeah, I think when you're out in the world, because I did a bit of traveling completely by myself when I was in New Zealand, and have done other traveling in other countries by myself. And it's like, wow, like literally, like I don't speak the language. I did in New Zealand, but in other countries that can be the case. I don't know anybody. And so who I am now is who I actually am, which is like a really freeing idea. And I feel like bringing who you are to the page when you're a writer is the number one thing that people are looking for. Storytelling is a way to get in other people's shoes and experience other people's trauma and triumphs. And it's one of the things, that human beings get to share with each other and make us, more compassionate and caring humans.
Yeah, we forget that your perspective changes when you have to look to another place, when you are alone and isolated. Mm-hmm. And so you went from Denver to, and did your stint in New Zealand, and then you went to New York, right?
Yes. Yep.
So, and is that where you PA'd a lot, how'd you get there?
Honestly, when I was in school in Denver, I knew that I wanted to work in film, but I thought that New York was scary and I thought LA was scary. So my plan was to either work in Chicago or Canada. That was my comfort zone. And after I started like working in film festivals, I met all of these incredible people from New York, and one of them hired me to work on a movie. And I was like, well, I guess I can like go for a little while. I just assumed that people in New York were mean because that's sort of the perspective that you get from like TV and film is like New Yorkers are like really mean. New Yorkers are not mean at all. They're really amazing. And I went out to work on this movie and I wound up staying for about 8 years. And yeah, that's where I did a lot of PAing. I worked on Gossip Girl. I worked on a handful of different movies and TV shows. And then that's where I wound up at Nickelodeon, and I worked at
Because the
Nickelodeon.
corporate offices, Nickelodeon corporate offices, for a long time was in New York.
Yes, yeah. And I'm not with Nickelodeon anymore. They still have a corporate presence in New York, but everything's kind of moving to LA.
Everything shifted over to LA.
And before that, it was Florida, and before that, it was Canada. So
Did you work in at all in the Florida office?
no, but I worked on a show that shot in Florida. It was called Every Which Way, another witch show. It was like a telenovela that we shot.
Because they do a lot of the international and Spanish-speaking ones down in Miami.
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I was supposed to go down there for one of their projects, and it's just so interesting how it was like, I have to go where? That's the first thing I was like, where is this?
Yeah, well, there's such a wonderful Spanish-speaking community down there. And the show that we were adapting was adapted from like a Spanish format called Grachi. I'm not saying that correctly, Grachi. But it was the same show, just in English and with English-speaking actors. And we actually were able to use we had some bilingual actors from the original. We're able to use them in the remake.
Oh, that's cool to be able to actually use some original folks. So, because development for TV is very different than writing for TV, and so what was the first question is, what was the thing that like made you feel excited about doing this development work?
Mm-hmm.
And and was there like a standardized kind of process you had in your head about what you liked? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, the reason that I worked in development is because I couldn't get a job as a writer. And it was the closest I could get to writing without actually writing. And development is wonderful because you get to work with writers.
Yes.
And you get to be collaborative. You get to hire writers. You get to give notes on projects. You get to take pitches. And it was really wonderful for me because I always knew I wanted to write. I've always written. I started writing when I was a very little girl and have continued throughout my life. And I knew I wanted to work in film, but I thought I wanted to be a director. And then when I graduated from school and no one was giving me homework anymore, like the only thing I did in my free time was like write. I wasn't playing around with cameras. I wasn't, making films. I was just writing. Writing fiction and writing scripts. So in New York, I had a writers group and I knew I wanted to be a writer, but I knew development was kind of the closest I could get and could help educate me about what I needed to, take that next step to becoming a writer.
Because that's an interesting thing, because that's not necessarily what everyone thinks. So was that someone who was mentoring you that told you that, or did you figure out yourself, or how did you get there?
Yeah, it was a little of both, actually. I worked for a woman named Margie Cohn, who was the president of development at Nickelodeon. She'd been there for 27, 28 years. I mean, she grew that company. She grew that company.
She's the one that found all the big shows that were hits in the early 2000s and the 90s.
I mean, it was like iCarly, Victorious, she was definitely, knew all the hit makers and hired them and nurtured them. She also shepherded The Last Airbender, or Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now she's heading up animation at DreamWorks, so she is doing fine. But Nickelodeon misses her, I'm sure. But yeah, being able to work for her was amazing, and she was very honest with me that like the life of a writer is really hard. It's very feast and famine, catch as catch can, and it's very hard to break into, which is true. It is extremely hard. but it was also, it was also just sort of taking informational meetings with people. Honestly, it seemed like the main thing kind of standing in my way was not being in LA. And I love New York City. And, if you've lived there, or anyone who has knows how hard it is to find a cute apartment, or like find your cute partner, or like get the job where you can finally pay the bills. And I was in that situation, but I also just had this burning need to write. And I got to a point where I wanted to write more than I wanted to live in New York. So I just had to listen to everyone who just kept saying, if you want to write for television or movies, you have to be in LA. I know that sounds counterintuitive because you can write anywhere. I mean, you could write, sitting on the back of a boat in the middle of the ocean.
The people who you need to write with, unless you're in LA, and that's the problem. So our producers are being really nice and gently nudging me, going, "Hey, do a reminder." So everyone, please. So we're part of the Stream-a-thon, 30-hour Stream-a-thon. So if you're just joining us, this is Christy Hedke. She is an amazing writer. Her recent stint has been with the the misadventures. It's so fun. I love this title.
Adventures of Sabrina.
The chilling adventures of Sabrina. Because look, this is how it ages. But this shows you my age. Like, I remember the original Sabrina. So this is very different. But please donate. I know that we have a click to give. So please go to the click to give site. I believe there's a little banner up here that shows you where you need the text to donate for our Stream-a-thon. So please donate. Now, that was our commercial break. Hi, everybody.
I'm on mute. I love that.
Wait, she's talking about witches.
I know. I'm shocked you didn't do anything worse. So, what is our total donation so far?
It's just north of 82,000.
82,000. Look, I know we're getting to the wee hours on the East Coast. I know a lot of you are starting to head on to bed. So we will not expect the needle to move very much in the next few, because this next bunch of hours is really about us proving that that we're still here. So thank you all. I think we're still trying to, we have a new team that's taken over here, so there's still kind of little shifts and adjustments. The new team is learning because it's their first time with us in this room. So so thank you all. I think we need to go very quickly to the next video. So can we get the next video ready, please?
Yeah, I just want to remind, text adventure to 56651 if you're watching this live or on replay. And if you put something on the chat about hats, I might have it in my stock. Who knows?
Yeah. And if you donate more than $250 before the 4 a.m. Eastern time block, I will sing whatever song you pick. I will sing karaoke, whatever song you pick. So let's go ahead and push play.
Now, my question for you,
take us away,
because I didn't know that you had really just out of the gate wanted to be a writer. Because you had such a diverse range of stuff that you did when you first came out of college. So that you had written since you were little. Do you have any, do you still have for example, the film script that you won the Sundance Episodic Story Lab, Degenerates. Do you still have that? What happened to it?
Yeah, I mean, of course I still have it. I would love to get it made someday. It's around. I have only pitched it in a limited capacity because when I got into Warner Brothers, I was under contract at Warner Brothers, so I couldn't develop outside of there for 3 years.
Sure.
But yeah, no, I would love to take it out. I think if I could find the perfect Peggy Guggenheim, it would be an amazing series. It's just, I mean, it's an incredible true story, so that still exists.
Yeah, when I was reading it, I was like, oh, that sounds like a great episodic TV series. Yet again, because what I love about the times now is that we're looking for strong, identified, centered shows that are unique. that are no longer the the typical white male thing. So to have a female who is doing all the subversive stuff, supporting degenerate artists in the midst of times of the rise of the Nazis, is just a great idea. So hey, I know some of my friends are watching. So ask, get a hold of her. You know it's how to get a hold of her on IMDb. It's super easy. I've seen it. I haven't seen the script, but I've seen the pitch, or at least the description of it. You all should call her. So do you have other stuff like when you're a kid that you've always wanted to develop? Like some of the younger stories when you were little?
There are a few stories from my more like my young adult years that I think about that I'd love to develop. There was this book called Hummer. I can't think of the author right now, but it was about this girl who finds this horse that like needs rehabilitation, and you realize that she has this like really troubled family life, and she's able to like train this horse from being completely feral into being like an endurance race horse, and like they kind of heal each other. And I always like loved that book so much because I love horses so much, especially when I was little. But yeah, if anybody wants to give me the rights to that.
Well, think about it too, because endurance horse race, because we're not talking about like a trot for an hour. This is like all day riding.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kind of stamina, emotional stamina you have to be able to stay on a horse. So I used to ride horses when I was much younger. And so I know how hard it is just to be on a horse for like 5 minutes, let alone all day. I mean, I just can't, like the mental stamina you have to be able to be one with the horse for that long is just amazing. And to have that total background.
Yeah, I love the idea of endurance racing too. I used to do like long distance running, but the thing that I love about the horse thing is like you have to think about yourself and your own endurance, but you also have to like read this other creature who doesn't speak your language and look out for them too. And it's just this total team effort and sort of this mutual trust that I think is really cool.
Well, so okay, so you're actually fairly physical. Like I noticed that you were the president of the Denver Dance Collective.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people don't connect writers with people who are endurance runners or part of a dance collective. So were you dancing even though you were writing all this time, or like what was that?
Yeah, I mean, dance was kind of my first love. I mean, it didn't seem like something that I wanted to pursue professionally just because I don't think that I was like well trained enough from a young age, and it's like so brutal. When I lived in New York, I was so lucky to make friends with some real life ballerinas who danced for the New York City Ballet. And I went to my friend's retirement performance when she was like 31, and now she's retired. So that's something that you don't get to do forever. And many dancers go on to become ballet masters or choreographers, or I have a friend who just married a ballet dancer from that same company who's now in medical school, and she's just going to become a doctor now. But because she retired at 30,
Yeah.
and now she'll have a whole new life. But
she'll also have, like, she won't have to have the same kind of debt, I think, right? Because she would have gotten herself fairly comfortable by being a performer and a dancer. So
I hope so. I mean, I don't think dancers are paid as well as they should be, because for the kind of athleticism and dedication and training that they do, I mean, they're not paid the money that professional athletes are, even though their level of athleticism is just as high, and they have this level of artistry that they have to master. But yeah, I mean, I have no idea how much dancers make, but I hope they make a lot, because I love dance so much.
So that's the thing. Like, you and I need to sit down and talk about like movies that have movement, because that's a whole other thing. Not a lot of people know how to write well for it because they don't come from a dance perspective. They just see a story and go, "Oh, I can tap into the loneliness or the or the rebel that a dancer is," and then all of a sudden they have to use form to become a better person. They just don't know how to tell that right. So we got to sit down and talk about some ideas.
Yeah.
but okay, but here's the long distance running too is very different. So does that help you with stamina as a writer? Because you're talking about long distance meaning like marathons.
Yes, I only ran one marathon because I trained for the New York City Marathon that got canceled because of Hurricane Sandy. So then I ran it the next year, but I trained for 2 years for it. And I've run like probably 7 or 8 half marathons and a few others, but
hey, anything more than like anything more than 5 miles from me is like, that's good. No, you do that. You run those 5 miles.
Yeah, no, it's hard. Like I can't even run anymore because my body is so messed up from it. But I mean, I do feel like there is a very clear similarity between writing and running because we've all written and we've all run and all of us can do either one, but both are hard. And we've all had the experience of sitting down to write something and you would rather do anything else than write that thing. And that never really goes away, even when you love to write and even when it's your career. You get used to it and you learn to work through it. And you learn to just sit and be patient and you know that it will go away and you know that the doubt and the frustration will go away and you'll eventually get into that zone. And the same is very true of writing or running. I mean, we've all run and like, you know, your lungs are burning and you feel terrible and there's nothing pushing you forward but yourself. And with endurance running, like you just get used to it. You learn that you will eventually move past that really awful period, especially in the first, like, for me, it was like 7 miles until I felt like the pain wasn't going to get any worse. And then you're just in the zone, you know? And when you're done with writing, when you're done with running, you feel really good and you feel like relaxed. You're like, no matter what else I do today, I ran those 10 miles or I wrote those 10 pages or whatever it is.
So we're just saying to our Academy students and to the amazing folks who dance, and it's like, you'll get past it. You'll get past the pain.
I mean, that is kind of what it is. It's just like, you know, and like this idea that nothing is propelling you except yourself. And I love that competition with myself because I don't like competing with other people. I was never good at sports, like just like, you know, and I like that I don't like, especially having been a dancer, like, you know, your worst fear as a dancer is that you're going to forget the dance on the stage. And when you're running, you don't have to remember anything. You just put one foot in front of the other. And same thing with writing. I feel like there's a safety net where it's okay to write something bad because you can revise it and you can revise it and you can make it good. And I feel like both of those things kind of make me feel a little safer than, you know, I mean, I'm sure there are lots of performers watching. It's like, you guys don't have that luxury. It's like, you have to get it right. You have to remember your lines. You have to remember your blocking. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's
well,
my
part of the whole idea is you work to make the hard easy. You make the easy habitual, and then you make the habitual magic. I think that's the trajectory that what I love within the craft that we do, is that our whole point is to take every one of these steps so that by the time we get to the end, what we now create is magic, right? And we forget that you can't skip steps. You do have to feel the pain a little bit for a while. Yeah. So that's a great reminder. And actually the analogy of a long distance runner is like, yeah, that your career is a long distance run. You have to think of it that way. To keep running.
It's a marathon.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what's interesting about this too, is that because as a writer for you, like you are in your own world, like you're in your head a lot, right? So I'm gonna ask you, like, what are the things that you do to help you stay centered? So is it more running? Like, what do you do to help you keep centered when you're creating your own world by yourself?
I do a lot of meditating, actually. I do a lot of really conscious centering. You know, and I think there is a little bit of like a spiritual thing to it. You know, I think inspiration means to be filled with holy breath. And I do approach the creative act as a sacred act. I mean, I think, you know, I just do, like, I have like little charms, like I have little necklaces that remind me of projects I'm working on. You can't see my desk, but I have like crystals and candles and, you know, if my writing's feeling stale, I'll light a candle and change the energy. You know, I might flip through an art book and try to get ideas, or you know, I don't even know. I just feel like I call a friend. I made a date with a friend tomorrow because I'm kind of stuck on a project and I just need somebody to bounce ideas off of. And that is the tricky part of being a writer, is that, you know, you're often working in isolation. When you're working in a writer's room, like I was on Sabrina, I mean, we had a full room of like 12 people every day, and there's all this energy and there's all these ideas flying around, and it's very fun. And then, you know, when you're working on your own stuff, it's just a completely different experience.
So
Yeah.
here's one thing that we do have to make sure that folks out there understand, because most of the folks are theater folks. So for all of you out there, what Christy is talking about is, you know, most of playwriters who are, you're in your own room, and you are writing your play, and whether it's commissioned by a theater company or not, like, you know, but you have meetings with the either the dramaturg or the artistic director or the director about your play. But the writer's room, can you just describe a writer's room to someone who doesn't necessarily know what that is?
Sure. So for a TV show, and increasingly for some like big tentpole movies like the Marvel Universe and Star Wars, there are writers' rooms where you know, one person or two people have created a world, have created a show with all the characters and, you know, basic themes that this show is going to address. And then usually the showrunner has written the pilot, which is the first episode of the show. Everyone's either read it or it's been shot and they've watched it. And then you hire a group of writers to help you come up with the rest of the stories. We call it breaking story. And I don't know why it is. It's like, it comes from like breaking its spine. I don't know if it's like
Really?
from
Oh,
a
that's
book
okay.
metaphor or what, but yeah, so there's one showrunner who is running the room, and they're the person saying, okay, so today we're going to talk about Sabrina's story, for example. And what does Sabrina do in this episode? We know that in the last episode, she and Nick broke up. How does she feel about it? Is she going to meet somebody else? You know, that kind of thing. So then, you know, the showrunner, he, she, they will say, okay, so this is where we are. Like, what's next? And we'll invite pitches from the rest of the room. So it's literally, you know, 10 people sitting around a table all day, throwing out ideas, you know, writing ideas on the board. We have an assistant who takes notes. And then it's the showrunner who decides, like, okay, it's my show, so I like Chill's idea. So we're gonna take that idea, and then what happens next?
And that person gets to kind of go away and take that idea and flush it out into a script and come back to the writer's room, right?
Sometimes every writer's room is different.
Sure.
I think that that's very common in like procedural shows. Like if you have like a case of the week type of show where you'd be like, okay, Chill, like it's your episode. What is it? And you pitch your episode, and then the showrunner would say yes, no, yes to this, no to this, change this, keep this, come up with a different ending. And then you'd go away, make those changes, bring it back. Our room was very, very collaborative because the show is so serialized, where like you couldn't just drop in and like just create an episode in the middle of the season. It's like we all had to be on the same page at all times. So we actually group wrote, where we would split up the scripts and everyone would write different scenes. And then say if it's your episode, Chill, like you would gather all the scenes, comb through it, you know, make
unify
your
the
version,
story,
and then you send it to the showrunner. Our showrunner on Sabrina, his name is Roberto Aguirre Sacasa. He also created Riverdale and Katie Keene, and he's just like, he's a powerhouse. And so he, you know, he was the showrunner. He's the one who would have the ultimate rewrite. And he's actually a playwright. He comes from the Yale School of Drama,
yeah,
and hires lots of playwrights on his shows.
Yeah. So I've been being reminded of another commercial break. So hello, everyone. If you're just joining us, we are part of the 30-hour Stream-a-thon that we're doing. I am having a lovely discussion with Christy Henke, who is a writer for TV series, as well as has been working on lots of different productions and was a development person at Nickelodeon. So thank you for being here with us. Please remember to donate. Click on the links below, go to the Click to Give site. I believe we also have a text to give, which is flashing up on the top here. So remember, please donate. We would love to have you. This is our big fundraiser for the year. We're doing something Herculean this year, which is doing a 30-hour marathon. What do you think about this 30-hour marathon there, Christy?
I mean, like, I'm usually in bed by 9:30. Like, I know I used to be an endurance runner or whatever, but I don't have the endurance to stay up for 30 hours. You guys, it's truly an adventure.
Yeah, I have a neurologist friend who were like, "What are you thinking?" I was like, "Just I know." So I had him yell at me for a solid like 15 minutes. So
You
so
did the whole 30 hours?
yeah, and I. But it's just to prove how much we love adventure, and this is like, and you know, this is one of those things where you say it's like we'll prove it, and we're proving it. So that's how we're doing it.
Love it. Love it.
And yes, we're proving it right now because we are in our 8th hour. And yet again, Leon has got a new hat. So we're doing a short pitch. What is it, Leon?
The pitch. Well, first of all, I wanted to shout out to Richard Gervaisi, our board member, who is in the chat and saying how fresh you look, Chill. So thank you, Richard, for the compliment. I was inspired with this is a running hat. This is my daughter's running hat. So I was hearing the interview and that. But what I'm supposed to say is text adventure to 56651. Again, text adventure to 56651 to make a donation. Still plenty of things going on the auction. We are getting bids on the auction right now, so people are interested in that. So if you're looking at the auction, take a moment to make a donation too. Why not? So text adventure to 56651.
All right, so let's bring the video up for our 3rd segment. And whenever you're ready, go ahead and play. Again, text adventure.
So let's get back to this, the writer's room, because and to the show's Sabrina, which I know all of you all have been waiting for the Sabrina discussion. So relax, we're finally here. So it is an incredibly immersive world. I mean, the details in this world, how did they get you into the world? Was there, did they give you documentation? What was the introduction? How did they get you into this world?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, obviously, people of our age are familiar with Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which was
please, Christy, don't even pretend to think you're as old as I am. Let's move.
I watched it when I was in high school or something. Maybe not high school, but I did watch it.
Okay.
And it was an Archie comic in the 60s. So it predates even Sabrina the Teenage Witch. But my showrunner, Roberto, apart from being a playwright, was also really into comic books. So he was writing, I think he was writing like Archie and Sabrina comic books and like had pitched, I don't remember which network it was, but had pitched a studio, like his take on like what became Afterlife with Archie, which is his zombie version of the Archie comics. And the Archie Comics corporate heard about it. He did not have the rights to it and sent him a cease and desist. Fast forward like a few years, and he became the chief creative officer of Archie Comics. So now he has the rights to all the Archie comics. And he created Riverdale, and he created Sabrina, and he rebooted the Sabrina comics. So he wrote like I think it's from like 2016, and he created Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. He created the character of Ambrose. He created Father Blackwood. He was raised in Nicaragua, and I think they were like very Catholic, and he was always very scandalized and interested in anything that had to do with Satan. So of course, he made it so dark and like brought this real edge to it. We kind of think of Sabrina as being this sort of sweet and perky, harmless witch, and he made it a much darker, much scarier world. He's much more interested in monsters and demons and all things that go bump in the night.
Because they're not atypical monsters, right?
No.
So when you talk about this, like that's what I'm so uniquely trying to understand all this stuff because were a lot of the resources that you're given the comic books, or was there others? Because I remember some of the stuff from the TV series came before the comic books, didn't it?
Yeah. So I was getting to that because there were a lot of like sources of inspiration that Roberto drew on. I
Mhm.
believe when he pitched the show originally, he was looking at classic horror like Rosemary's Baby, The Omen, The Exorcist. So he really turned it into a horror, and it is light in a lot of ways, and it's more like teen and young adult appropriate, but there's a lot of blood, there's a lot of monsters, there's a lot of scary parts. I actually he would have us watch movies and read books, and I would have nightmares. I would they were like, especially when we were writing the Exorcist stuff, and he'd be like, okay, so you have to watch the Exorcist 2, the Exorcism of Emily Rose, and like list all these, and I'm like watching exorcism movies all day and then having terrible nightmares, and I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I get too scared. But yeah, no, like for every season, he would have Roberto, our showrunner, would have different things he wanted to explore. So the first 2 seasons was very much about the idea of like a horror fairy tale. Like the first 2 episodes are sort of this dark Cinderella story. There's a poisoned apple that she eats in the first episode that is very Snow White. And so we're sort of exploring these like classic fairy tales, which in their original forms were horror stories.
Oh my God, yeah.
The 3rd season, we were exploring folk horror. And the 4th season, we were looking at like H.P. Lovecraft, pretty much, and this idea of eldritch terrors. I have my eldritch terror in here. Do you want to see it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
So I wrote the Imp of the Perverse, and
Yeah.
they made me an imp. This is the actual Imp of the Perverse.
Don't you get like, you're talking about getting like nightmares? Don't you get nightmares with that sitting around you?
I don't sleep in here. Well, it had this really cute little note from the props department, so it made it a little nicer.
Oh.
The props team.
Oh.
He wears it around his neck.
Oh.
Yeah, that's from season 4.
Yay. Yeah, it is amazing how the followings, the people who follow are, I wouldn't call them like rabid in that kind of crazy way, but they're passionate. They are supremely passionate about the Sabrina story. And like, because I almost fell down the trap of the Reddit discussions, because I was like, what is happening? Some of the arguments about like what they thought was right, and but I will say the 5th season looked like what they were bracketing up for the 5th season looked really cool.
What was gonna happen in the 5th season? I don't even
There's
know.
a whole description. Hold on, I will send you the site, and I'm not going to give it away because I think people should go to this link. So it is. I think the article is in Arts Technica. No, that's the they were talking about the disappointing. Oh, here it is. It's a Newsweek of all things culture, and it's like what would have happened in Sabrina Part 5. So.
I mean, I believe Roberto did pitch like an abbreviated 5th season, and I heard it was cool, but I never got to know what it was.
Oh my God,
because the pandemic came, and like we were like maybe we're gonna get renewed, and then the pandemic hit, and what's the algorithm? We would always joke about that on Sabrina. We would say that the algorithm is one of the eldritch terrors.
And boy,
we all have to pray to the algorithm.
I'm telling you, like their numbers, they don't reveal any of those secrets, but they have very clear numbers that they're trying to work towards. So with all of this, so do you have something that you are interested in doing next? Do you have like, what would you like to do next?
Next, I'd love to staff again. Like there are a lot of writers' rooms taking place over Zoom. They're called Zoom rooms. But they're a little bit more few and further between because the industry is in such a weird place. It's in a little bit of turmoil, and because production has been so slow because of COVID and impossible in some cases, there's this huge backlog of scripts that need to be shot. But yeah, I'd love to staff. I'd love to develop. I just wrote a movie. I'd love to get into movies as well. And try my hand at directing at some point. I had kind of been scared away from directing, and then after being on set on Sabrina and producing my own episodes, I'm like, I could see myself doing this. I think that it's back when I was a student and nobody knew what they were doing. It was like really stressful and not fun, but I'm sure that directing on a big budget thing is just as stressful, but you're working with all these department heads who are amazing at what they do. Like on Sabrina, for example, like our costume designer was an Oscar-winning costume designer. He won an Oscar for doing the costumes on Moulin Rouge. Our production designer, who built all of the beautiful sets and created this incredible ambiance, her name's Lisa Soper. She was such a rock star at design that Roberto hired her to direct an episode. I don't think she directed before. She directed The Weird in season 4. And the incredible cast. I mean, when you're working with actors like this, it's like they make your job really easy. They make your words sound really beautiful. It's just when everybody's at the, makeup, special effects, when everybody's at the top of their game like that, it just like makes it so collaborative. And often I would write a scene and then like see it shot and be like, wow, this is way better than I even imagined it being.
Yeah, it's interesting because directing is a lot like being a CEO of a corporation, and at the same time, it's these larger films, and at the same time, being able to be the person who is the visionary that makes the thing go. And
Mhm.
and it is an interesting mix. But from what I understand too, is that the transition from writer to director is much easier than a lot of other folks say.
Maybe. I mean, I think it's probably, I think it's always difficult to transition from writing to directing, but if you are a successful enough writer, then you can. If you're like a Ryan Murphy, for example, who, made 25 amazing TV shows and now he gets to direct whatever he wants. I think it's same thing with like an Aaron Sorkin, who's written so many amazing Oscar nominated and Oscar winning scripts that, it's easy enough to trust him to steer that ship.
Well, I guess this leads right into we're doing one more commercial break, but again, hello everybody. We're at in the midst of our 30-hour stream-a-thon. So hopefully you are donating. You're getting excited about the discussion that I'm having with Christy because this is so much fun. And that you're clicking to give. Look at all the banners up there, and so there's we're all the information is happening below me and above me. So please donate if you can. This is a big annual fundraiser, and we're doing this Herculean thing about 30 hours. So check it out.
Hi. So it's like a twist. It looks like
It's late. It's drooping. What do you want from me?
I think I caught in the wind. All right, one more. Hey, please donate. Go to Adventure. Text Adventure to 56651. That's Adventure 56651. Whew, wow, that's a mouthful. And do you have
donation magic here?
Yes, donation magic. I know we have a bunch of board members who have joined. Please donate. Please tell your friends to donate. I know it's late for some of your friends, but some of them are watching. I know. So please have them donate. Remember, those who donate more than $250 can make me sing whatever they want.
Whatever.
So, well, whatever within reason. Y'all are weird. Okay. But yes, I will sing whatever you want in our hour block that we're singing. So let's get up our last video of this segment with Christy. And this will be fairly short. So immediately afterwards, I think we're going to jump right into talking with our folks, Michael Aiken from Link. But let's go ahead and play a video.
So back to this, all these people that you're mentioning. So you have people that should inspire you too, right? So who are those people? That make you want to tell these stories? Who are those?
Yeah, I think that I'm especially inspired by women writers because, there have been so few like appreciated and well-paid like women writers who have gotten to make their own movies, who've gotten nominated for awards, who've gotten to make their own TV shows. And the tide is turning, but very slowly, not quickly enough. Like the numbers are pretty embarrassing. I think the industry should be ashamed of itself for how slowly we're incorporating other voices into, into all TV and film and all forms of media. But I often think of Penny Marshall, who directed A League of Their Own, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. Kelly Curry, who wrote Thelma and Louise, which is a perfect movie. And, like looking at television too, he's not a woman, but Matthew Weiner, who made Mad Men. I mean, I feel like Mad Men is what made me fall in love with television. And sort of, he was a part of the sort of freshman class of TV content creators who elevated television to what it is today. And now that we're in this sort of golden age of television, the David Chases who created The Sopranos, the guys who made Game of Thrones, Alan Ball of 6 Feet Under. I feel like it was all sort of happening around the same time that we got all this sort of prestige television. Yeah. I pretty much all the people.
I still feel like we're in the midst of it because some of the best storytelling is happening on what they call a long form. So for everyone, when they say long form, it means that is a storytelling that's done over a much longer period of time. So typically it's done 2 hours, but this is now over 20. And a lot of these series, if even though they're only thinking 1 season at a time, some of them they have a Bible that has like 5 to 6 seasons already in place. Like they kind of generally know what they want to do. That's why when they buy a show, they don't just buy 1 season. They actually buy more, even though with the idea that they know that this show's going to have life, even if they buy it or not, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I guess we're getting towards the end of our hour. So this is so much fun, Christine. And thank you for sharing your story with us. Because
yeah, I'm happy to.
The thing is, I do want to say, like because you do teach, like you do workshops now, things like that, right? Mm-hmm. You forget that you're an inspiration to a lot of folks, and not just as a teacher, but just being out there, as well as like do not underestimate opportunity, because any dude who has done even half of what you've done believes they can direct a movie. So do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah. And those should be directing a movie.
I'm starting to believe I can direct a movie too someday. Like I have to get behind that camera, and there's a learning curve. But I mean, I've seen a couple movies that aren't very good. So I feel like no matter what, anyone can direct a movie. I would like to direct a good movie.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's why there are some reluctance in that, because you're a great stalwart of a story. Mm-hmm. But my thing for you would be like, if those dudes can stick their silly noses out there and take chances, you should be able to do it yourself, because you have done so much more than a lot of these folks. So I cannot wait to see something of yours. And I will gladly share your resume to a lot of folks.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing your time with me.
Yeah, thank you. Good luck with the Stream-a-thon. Time for another shot of espresso. You can do it. You can do it.
I also want to thank Melissa, who's the one that reached out to you. I guess she's a friend of a friend. Like your mom knows Melissa.
She's a friend of my mom. Yeah, they worked together when I was little, and I've known Melissa for most of my life. Yeah.
Oh, so Melissa, thank you for making this happen for us. So yay, shout out to Melissa. Woo-hoo. And again, thank you for joining us. And goodbye. We'll do the handoff for the next hour in the next episode. So bye.
Bye, guys.
Hello, everybody. So, hi, there's Michael.
Chill, how are you? Leon.
I'm doing great. Thank you, Michael, for joining us. So I think we're going to talk a little bit. Me? Oh.
No, you too. But I'm Michael. I'm hearing a hoarse voice. Has he been going all day?
It's been a long day. I've been watching you all and cheering along for hours now. Chill, it's been amazing.
Thank you. We got another 22 hours to go.
I love it. I love it. Whose idea was this, Jill? Let's call him out.
Bills. No. That's not fair. I literally threw it out as something like this. I said we need to do something Herculean because digital. Everyone's doing the fundraising on digital, and they all look the same. So we got to do something different. We got to do something Herculean, like I don't know, a 48-hour stream-a-thon, and they all went. I literally wait. What's going on? What just happened?
I love it. It's been great programming. I've tuned in all afternoon. We've watched as a family. It's been incredible. So it's going well.
Good. We got some crazy stuff going on. For anyone who wants to see me and my sorry singing happen, if they donate more than $250, you can request a song, and I will sing that song for you live.
At
But
4 a.m.
At 4 a.m., which is going to be. So we'll see how I am, up and going.
Right.
But thank you for joining us. Can you just give us a little thing? Because you've been remarkable in supporting our digital strategy and our marketing. So can you give us a little thing about Link Strategic Partners and what y'all do?
We're a social impact consulting firm. We do communications and community engagement work around the world. We love the work we do. It's all deeply community based. So when we heard what Adventure Theater was doing, which is a theater company we've loved and supported for a long time, we said we need to be a part of this. And then you said it's 30 hours and you need to be on at 11. I was like, let's do this. This is fantastic. So we're very, very excited about this. But we're a consulting firm. We're based here in DC. We have offices around the country and around the world, but we're so excited to be part of what you're doing here. It's really important work.
Thank you. And I understand that what you've collected is actually a lot of your staff who came up with some really interesting and cool ideas from all around the world, right?
Yeah. We're going to start tonight with Charlie Brotman, who's 93 years young and announced every presidential inauguration from Truman to President Obama. And then he was brought back by President Biden. Then we're going to go into a cooking segment with my son, our little baby chef, who's 2.5. I tried to keep him up for the live shot, but I was overruled by that. But, it's going to be an incredible little cooking segment, which is why most people are tuning in. It's not me, it's my son. And then we've got some really cool theater and like some sword fighting and all sorts of stuff from the UK. We opened an office in Manchester about 1.5 years ago in England, and it's just going to be incredible to see that. We have a team member, Josh Lasky, who's reading from a book he just wrote about caregiving and the power of caregiving, which I find to be a super powerful segment. And then between all that, we have calligraphy from our VP of Communications, Sheena Pegarito, and some spoken word by Carol Lambert and lots of other stuff. So it'll be a good hour. Pour yourself a drink or some coffee and settle in because we're going to do this.
I love that your team just kind of came up and was inspired to do something really interesting. So thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. So we're going to put up the first video. And I think we have the intro. So let's roll the first video and then we'll come back and talk again. And so please text adventure 56651. Oh, look at that. We froze you at the best moment there, Michael. So go and please text adventure to 56651. That's adventure to 56651. Roll tape.
My name is Michael Aiken, and I'm president of Link Strategic Partners. We're a social impact consulting firm based here in Washington, D.C. Link is proud to serve as the communications and engagement partner of Adventure Theater's 30-hour Stream-a-thon. We'll be producing the next hour of content, and we're very excited. So over this next hour, we'll be sharing the 4 C's that we think make us unique: caring, cooking, culture, and change makers. We're going to start by introducing a change maker on our team, 93-year-old Charlie Brotman, who just finished announcing the presidential inauguration. Charlie's announced every presidential inauguration since President Truman, -1, and he was back this year to announce President Biden and Vice President Harris. So we'll hear from Charlie. Then we'll go into a cooking segment that's going to be facilitated by me and my baby chef, who's really the star of the show. Then we're going to head across the pond for our culture segment. We're going to join our friends in the UK, the Handlebards and the Vikings, each sharing a bit about their theater companies and what's coming up across the pond that you'll be able to stream at home soon. After that, we're going to turn to a segment on caring, so appropriate right now, and that's going to be facilitated by our managing director and chief strategist, Josh Lasky. Josh recently published his first book entitled Every Step is a Gift: Caregiving, Endurance, and the Path to Gratitude. Josh is going to be reading an excerpt from this really powerful book and providing some context for it. We hope these segments introduce your family to ours. For more information about Link, please visit our social media properties or our website at linksp.com. Thanks and enjoy. We're going to start today with Charlie Brotman. Charlie is our senior advisor at Link at 93 years young. One of the things I'm so proud of is that our team ranges in age from 17 to 93. We're over 50% female. We're over 65% people of color. We really, truly embrace and reflect the communities that we're a part of. And Charlie is a core part of that team. The energy he brings at 93 keeps us all going. Charlie just got done announcing the inaugural parade for President Biden and Vice President Harris, and he's no stranger to inaugural parades. Charlie did his first inaugural parade when he announced President Truman's inauguration as a college broadcast student. He's then been the official announcer for every inauguration between President Eisenhower and President Barack Obama's second inaugural. 4 years ago, then President Trump went in a different direction, but this year President Biden brought Charlie back, and it was a truly remarkable thing to see. Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, Charlie wasn't able to leave the assisted living where he lives for understandable precautions. So we set up a recording studio in his apartment where he recorded all of his parts for the inaugural parade that were then broadcast along Pennsylvania Avenue. So what we're going to hear from here is Charlie talking about kind of getting the call to come back and do this. We're then going to see a really great story that NBC Washington did about Charlie's return to this role, and then a thank you from the man, the myth, the legend himself afterwards. A couple other things to know about Charlie. In addition to his work with us and as the president's announcer, Charlie has also been a baseball announcer. He announced the Senators. He was the in-stadium announcer for the Washington Senators before they left. And then when the Nationals came back, he announced the inaugural season of the Washington Nationals. He also announced the City Open tennis tournament for 42 years. He was Sugar Ray Leonard's PR guy. This guy has been everywhere, done everything. He's in 10 different sports Hall of Fames. But more than anything, he's a dear friend, and we're excited to introduce him to you now. Charlie, take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Brotman, and I am one excited announcer. I've announced at every inaugural parade since President Truman through President Barack Obama in 2013. And I'm so excited and so honored to once again provide announcements for this historic event. Thanks for letting me do it. I really appreciate it.
Take a close look at the sign behind me along Pennsylvania Avenue. It says, "Welcome, Mr. President. Welcome, Madam Vice President." And the voice that people heard along the parade route today belongs to Charlie Brotman, now at the age of 93. That's right, 93 years old. He again finds himself part of presidential history. It started when President Dwight Eisenhower threw out the first pitch of the season for the Washington Senators. Eisenhower was so impressed by Charlie Brotman, who was the stadium announcer, that he ordered a White House aide to call Brotman.
She said, well, it is a parade, and it'll feature President Eisenhower, and you'll be the president's announcer.
Brotman announced inaugural parades for 11 presidents, collecting photos, scripts, and memorabilia. Then he was snubbed by the incoming president, Donald Trump.
What broke my string also broke my heart was President Trump.
But President Biden decided to follow history, inviting Charlie to return to the microphone for the Biden-Harris inaugural parade.
It's the presidential motorcade carrying the man sworn in today as our nation's 46th president, Joseph R. Biden.
Now, Charlie Brotman recorded his voice on his laptop computer in his room at an assisted living center where he lives in Silver Spring. Because of the COVID dangers, they wouldn't let him out. And of course, if they let him out, they wouldn't let him back in. Charlie says he has gotten his first COVID vaccination, and if it's ever safe, he would love to meet the new president and vice president. This is Chris Gordon.
Wow. I just love the history of that. And I love that we brought him back, because look, we do not treat our senior citizens the way we should in this country. And I'm saddened by seeing some of this, but I'm so happy that he's back. And it's just a testament to just grit. And I love that. We want to thank Stan Kang and Jamal for donating. So thank you. We're grateful for even these late night tributes. So thank you again for doing that. Leon, do you have an update that we have to do?
I was just gonna say I'm looking forward to Miles, who's the next segment is our little chef. He's pretty awesome. I've been watching him on Facebook regularly. I didn't have a chef hat. Can you believe it? Of all the hats I brought today, I didn't have a chef hat. So this is the closest I could come up with.
Oh, really? You have like 50 hats. You don't have a chef hat?
I know, crazy, right? But thank you for the donations. Don't forget about the auction. I mean, we've got all these cool people watching. And there's some really neat, we've got trips. We have some cooking classes. So that's a good tie-in to Miles here. So if you like what you're seeing with Miles and inspired to learn to cook, we've got a couple of cooking classes in our auction as well.
Yeah. So, and again, thank you, Jamal Holtz and Stan Kang, for your donations. And please tell everyone, donate. Go to text adventure to 56651. Let's get the video ready. Again, donate, text adventure to 56651 and roll video.
What'd you say? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hi, it's Michael, and I'm here with my baby chef. You want to say hi?
Hi.
What are you holding?
Whisk.
A whisk. What are we making today?
Cookies.
What kind of cookies?
Chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. And I got a spatula.
And a spatula. Yes, we're going to make some Biscoff chocolate chip oatmeal cookies. The recipe we're using is from Sally's Baking Addiction. You can go to sallysbakingaddiction.com. We love her stuff, and we'll be making these today. What should we do first?
Put flour.
Put flour. We should. Should we go through what the ingredients are first? Okay. What's this?
Flour.
Flour. Excellent. What's this?
Baking soda.
Close. What is it? What is this one?
Vanilla.
Vanilla. Excellent. What is this one? What is this one?
It's hard to remember.
It's hard to remember. You want to try it? Try it. Is it sweet or salty? It's sweet, right? Is it brown sugar?
Yeah.
What is it?
Brown sugar.
Brown sugar. What is this? Do you remember what this is? What is it? What is it? Is it yummy? This is called cookie butter or Biscoff. It's like peanut butter, but sweeter, right? What is this?
Egg.
An egg. Excellent. How many eggs?
One.
1 egg. What are these?
Chocolate chip.
Are you sampling them? Do we need to leave those next to you while we're cooking? Those your favorite? Should I put them here? What is this?
Raisin.
Wow. You mean what? What is this?
Flour. What?
What do you mean? What do you think this is? What kind of cookies are we making?
Oatmeal.
Yes. Oatmeal chocolate chip cookies, right? Perfect. Just a couple more. What's this? Salt. Excellent. And then we've got, what are these? What are these?
Fire.
They're not fire trucks. What are these? Is it baking soda and baking powder? Okay. Oh, we're missing one ingredient. What is this ingredient over here? It's melted.
Like ice cream?
It's kind of like melted ice cream. It's actually very similar to melted ice cream. It's made out of milk. And where does milk come from?
Cow.
Yeah, this is butter. So it's melted butter. Do we have all the ingredients?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started. What?
Action.
Action. How many bowls do we need?
2.
Which one do we need first? Big or small?
Small.
How about
Big.
Big. Let's do big first. What do we need to put in the big first? The dry ingredients, right?
Yeah.
What's our first dry ingredient?
Flour.
Flour. We're going to put flour in here. How much flour are we putting in here? We're going to put in 3/4 of a cup of flour. And a sneeze, but we're baking this, so that'll be okay. So 3/4 of a cup all-purpose flour. What goes in next?
Salt.
Salt. How much salt are we putting in?
1.
Yeah, 1/4 of a teaspoon. You want to put it in? Awesome. Just a pinch of salt. And then we're putting in the baking powder and the baking soda, right? How much are we putting into those?
1.
1/2 teaspoon, right? Want to do the baking powder first?
Yeah, the baking powder.
Put that in. Awesome. And then what? What's that?
Baking flour.
Yes, that's baking soda.
I said baking flour.
Yeah, they look the same, don't they? Here you go. Put that in. Do you want to start stirring those together a little bit? Okay, stir those ones together. So we're putting in the dry ingredients first, and then we're stirring it up. Is it all mixed? Okay, now we're going to set this aside, okay? Okay, what's next? We need the small bowl. What goes in there first?
Chocolate chip.
Do you need the chocolate chip?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, let's put in the butter first. Butter first. Then what? How about this? What is this?
Brown sugar.
Brown sugar. Yeah, scoop that in. Awesome. Now mix those together really, really well. We're mixing together the brown sugar and we're mixing together the butter. Mommy, do you want to come get a close-up of what's inside this bowl here? Look at that.
It's making brown.
It is making it, isn't it? Look at that. Cool. You want me to crack the egg or do you want to crack the egg?
You crack.
Me crack the egg? Okay, we're going to crack it in a side bowl, right? To make sure we get no shells in it. Okay. Crack. Where do eggs come from?
Okay. Chicken.
Yes, chicken.
They're eggs.
What?
They lay eggs where we can cook with them and eat them.
They do lay eggs. Absolutely. Look, does that look like any shells in it?
Nope.
Okay, we're putting it in here. So mix that together. Mix, 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 mix until it's all whisked together. And then what are we going to put in next, buddy?
Chocolate chip.
I think we're going to put in the vanilla and the Biscoff. Is that correct? How much vanilla do we need? Do you remember? I think we need 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'll do 2 teaspoons of vanilla. That is correct. Here we go. There you go. 1. And then how many is this?
2.
Perfect. Keep stirring that together. What's it look like? Look like yumminess?
Yeah.
Keep stirring. Good job.
Back.
Yeah, stir fast, 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 fast. Mauer, how's that look? Oh, you do it now. And then I'm going to put in this. Good job. Is that your stirring face? Give me your serious stirring face. Stir, stir, stir.
I stir stuff.
Can you stir fast? No? Okay. What is this? Biscoff, right? Cookie butter. It's yummy.
After you put this in, can I lick the outside?
Can you lick this? Yeah, you can lick this. There you go. Let's finish putting this in. You want to keep stirring?
Yes.
Okay, you keep stirring. Or do you want to switch and you can lick this and I'll stir?
You lick. You have a turn and I lick.
Okay, there you go. There you go. That can be yours. That can be yours. And then I will stir this. We'll take turns, right? What's it taste like? What's it taste like? Peanut butter? Yeah, it's kind of like peanut butter. Okay, what do we do now? We've mixed all the wet ingredients together, and we've got the dry ingredients over there. So next, we're going to combine them. Does that sound good? Okay.
Action.
What?
Action.
Action. Okay, now what do we need to do? We need to put the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients, right? They're really, really thick. You can see it doesn't even come out. That's how thick this is. So we're going to scoop all of the wet ingredients into the bowl with our flour and our sugar and our baking soda and our salt. Putting that all together there. And now we're going to stir them together. That's tough, right? Use your muscles. You got it? You got it? Tell me if you need some help. You need some help? Okay. Let's see. You want to do it together? So, Mommy, if you want to come look at this again, you can see that this is a really, really thick batter. So we're taking the wet and the dry and we're putting together. We're kind of making a dough, aren't we, Miles? A little bit like a dough. You don't want to over mix it, but you want to see. Okay, does that look mixed? Does that look mixed? Okay, so we're going to tap this to get it all off the whisk, right? And then what do we need to put in? We need to put in some oatmeal. You do that. Pour this in. That's your. We're going to pour in the oatmeal. And then what are these that you're eating? What are these called? Chocolate chips. The Sally's Baking Addiction recipe we're using calls for white chocolate, but we like the dark chocolate chips, right? I'm going to pour them all in. Okay, pour. And then what do we need to do? Then what? Mix it. Are we folding it? How do you fold things together? Like this? Pour it from one side to the other. Is this batter thick or runny?
Runny.
Is it? Or is it kind of thick? Look.
It's thick.
It's thick? Yeah. Does it look yummy?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Can you tell folks who are watching how old you are? How old are you, Chef?
2.
2. Yeah, you're 2.5. Absolutely. Do you like cooking and baking? What do you like about it?
Cooking.
You like cooking? What do we do after we cook?
We just put in the oven.
Yeah, and then what?
And then we just eat them.
Oh, and is that the best part?
Yeah. Do we eat them after dinner?
Yeah, we should eat good dessert after dinner. That's a good point.
Maybe too. Eat them, then eat dinner.
Maybe we should eat the cookies and then eat dinner?
Yeah.
Maybe. That's a good idea. Do you like an appetizer, like a cookie appetizer? Do these look mixed okay enough? You think they're good? Let's show Mommy. Mommy, look it. We mixed it all up. It's a really, really hearty dough. And because it's got oatmeal, it's good for you. It's kind of like a health food. So now what do we need to do?
Put it in the oven.
Yeah, what do we need to put it on to put it in the oven?
On the tray.
On the tray, yeah, on these baking sheets,
I
right?
don't want this on top.
So do you know why we put this here? This is called a silicone baking mat, and it keeps the cookie from sticking. Does that make sense?
I want them to stick.
No, you don't want them to stick. You want them to come off so we can put them on our belly. If you don't have a silicone baking mat, you can use parchment paper, or you can just grease the tray so that nothing sticks. So we're going to go ahead and portion these out now. Okay, what are we doing now, buddy?
We're putting it on the tray.
Yep, put it in my hand.
Okay.
What we're going to do is take 2 scoops. That's 1. Give me 1 more scoop here.
That's good, we do.
Give me 1 big, huge scoop. What kind of construction vehicle are you being right now?
Scoop.
A scooper? Yeah.
This is so tough.
You're kind of like an excavator, aren't you? Yeah, put that here. Okay, so we take 2 big scoops, just like that, and we make them into a ball like this, right?
It's like Play-Doh.
It is like Play-Doh. Don't you?
This is
Go ahead.
1.
1, yep.
I'm gonna give you a big. Now this time we're gonna do 2.
We're gonna do
I mean, this time we're gonna do 3.
Are you going to make a big one? So cookies should all be the same size, right? So they cook evenly?
Whoa, this is a pure.
Wow, that does not look like the same size, does it?
No.
No.
That's a huge
Oh
one.
my goodness, whose cookie is this for? Who would eat a big cookie like that? Who?
Oh, maybe Mommy will.
Mommy would like the big one? Look at that. I don't think Mommy, can you look at these? I don't think they're the same size. You think those are the same size? That's like a Cookie Monster size cookie. How does Cookie Monster eat cookies? Yeah. So why don't we break this one up into 2 cookies? Does that work? I'll break this one up. Can you give me a couple more scoops and then we'll get these in the oven? These make very large cookies, which is how I like my cookies because they stay nice and chewy and moist inside. But you could absolutely make them smaller if you wanted to. Probably not that small. Can you give me 1 more big scoop? Big scoop. You can do your excavator song if you need to. Got it?
Yeah, my
What? What's your excavator song? You want to sing it?
Excavator, excavator, hey dirt, see you later. I'm an excavator.
That was really good. Who's that from? Who sings that?
Flippy.
Blippy, yeah. One of the people Miles likes watching on YouTube. That was the Excavator song by Blippy. You want to sing it one more time? That is a really cute song.
Excavator, hey dirt, see you later. Do you think that big?
That's pretty big. That's pretty big. It was a good song. Is there any other song you want to sing while we're scooping these?
Dumb truck, oh dumb truck, take it to drop down. Oh dumb truck, take it to drop down.
That's a good dump truck song. What other songs do you like?
No, do you know they got Blippi Crane song?
Oh, there's a crane song?
Yeah, about Blippi Crane song.
What's the cranes?
Oh, they are lifting.
Yeah, what is the song?
It's go crane, so crane. Take it to drop down.
That's a good song. I'm sensing a theme. What other song do you like? In case there are other kids watching, do you want to do like your ABCs? Do you like that song?
Yeah.
Go ahead, scoop a couple more.
A.
B.
No, I'm gonna do first one. That's gonna be A.
Okay.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
This is one that is A.
Okay.
What was the Z?
We're almost to Z. We just started at A. How about we sing the ABC song while we're doing this?
A.
B.
Z.
D.
Okay, maybe you do it.
How about I do it and you sing?
A. B. C. D. E. F. G. H. I. J. K. L. M. N. A. B. C. D. A. B. C. D. A. B. C. D. E. F. G. H. I. J. K. L. M. N. O. P. Q. R. S. T. U. V. W. X. Y. and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, why don't you sing with me?
Yes, buddy.
Fast.
That was fast.
A.
How,
B. C. D. E. F. G. Won't you sing with me?
that was really good. You want to do one more while I'm finishing these?
Yeah.
How about your no? How about your Itsy Bitsy Spider song?
Itsy bitsy Spider-Man. No, itsy bitsy dump truck up the water fell. Action!
What are we doing now?
We're putting these in the oven.
Yes,
You
and
think I can help with that?
well, the oven is something that adults should do. So can you watch me and make sure I do it right? So I turn the light on first. I made sure the temperature was at 350. We're going to put these on for 11 to 12 minutes. Okay?
Okay.
I'm going to start at 11 because we can always go up. So now I'm going to put one tray here on top. And then I'm going to put the other tray here on the bottom. I think that's a good idea. And then I'm going to press start for the timer. And we're going to leave these in for 11 minutes. Does that sound good?
I want chocolate.
You want chocolate chips?
Yeah.
Can you wait for the cookies to come out?
I want chocolate.
Well, you've earned them. We'll get you a couple. Can you say we'll be right back?
We will be right back. Action!
What did we make, buddy?
Cookies.
Want to try it? How is it? Can I try it?
Mm-hmm.
Have a bite? All right, have mommy take a bite first. You have to move your hand.
Good.
Oh, mommy, how is it?
Yum, you did a good job.
My goodness, it's so good. Can you tell them what it tastes like? What does it taste like?
Oh
Does it taste good? Does it taste yummy? Can you tell them?
no. It tastes yummy and sweet.
Yummy and sweet.
Yummy and sweet. You say bye, friends. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for tuning us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, adorable, adorable.
I don't know which was more delicious, the cookies or the boy.
Hello, my name is.
Miles is adorable. Okay, so we have an update. You have a few more people who've donated. Can you give us tell us who they are?
Yeah, thank you, Jane Brennan, and I think it's Kelso and Sam. Thank you very much for your donations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I believe we're starting to reach into international realms, so thank you for all of those. Also, a shout out to our board members who are still hanging out. I'm impressed. Richard, Jean, and who's it? Oh, and Mary.
Mary's still on? Hi,
yeah.
Mary.
So, hello. Now, let's prep for our third video. Is it ready?
I'm told there's swashbuckling. There's fighting.
Yeah.
There's sword fighting.
Swashbuckling. Play video.
Hello, my name is Tom Dixon, and I am the co-artistic director of the UK-based theatre company, The Handlebars. We're called this because every summer we pack up our set, props and costumes on the back of our bikes and cycle across the UK, performing Shakespeare as we go. The videos that follow will just give you a little taste of who we are and what we do.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are the Handlebars!
Hi, I'm Roisin.
I'm Tika.
My name is Alice.
My name is Katie.
And I am playing Prospero.
Ariel, Trinculo, and Gonzalo.
Miranda, Alonso, Sebastian, and Stefano.
Caliban, Ferdinand, and Antonio in William Shakespeare's The Tempest.
The Tempest is about a magical duke.
All his enemies have been washed up on the island that he has been imprisoned on.
I'm going to do The Tempest in soundscape form for you.
Chaotic, wild adventure.
There's love stories.
Ding, 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 ding.
Really mischievous.
With a bit of music and lots of magic.
Oh, it's a headmaster. And it's really fun.
Fantastic, fun as always.
Oh, absolutely fantastic.
Very, very
Second
good.
time we've been to see them. Amazing.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I think they did an excellent job, actually.
Involves the audience, involves stealing the drinks all the time and the food.
Oh,
Audience participation,
yeah.
quick
Yeah.
changes, just the humour of it, it's great.
Yeah, it just felt inclusive. Yeah, it was like a big family.
Only you guys at the RSC have ever actually followed Shakespeare. It was like hilarious.
So even the little kids, you can see like dancing along, and that was really nice to see.
If you want to introduce yourself to Shakespeare and sit for the first time, enjoy yourself, have fun, be relaxed and not be too formal.
It's Shakespeare to the masses, isn't it?
The high point of the tour, cycling down the driveway and seeing some massive stately home.
Get to the top of a hill. Every sort of show's been an opportunity to learn and to grow.
You know, getting to the top of a massive hill.
And you can just see the hills and the mountains. It's beautiful. The challenging points of the tour.
Hay Fever's one, our first big cycle.
I just came off the bike and the trailer was upside down.
Insects are another. I went skidding.
And we need to make sure we're eating properly and drinking enough water. And
shredded my left side of my body. There's not many scars left. Mostly healed by now, but now we're fine. Why should you come and see a handlebar show? Oh my gosh, you have to come and see it.
They'll laugh harder than they've ever laughed before.
You'll never see Shakespeare done in this way, not really knowing what to expect. It's entertaining, it's expressive.
You'll have a good time.
And it's really good fun.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw and you'd like to catch one of our shows, you're in luck, as we are live streaming our version of Romeo and Juliet on the 11th of March. You can find information about how to get tickets by heading over to our website, handlebards.com. Thanks so much to Adventure Theatre for letting us be part of your Stream-a-thon. And good luck with the rest of the evening.
Oh, hi there. My name's Peter Taylor, and I'm a Viking reenactor here in Britain. I'm part of the Vikings UK Society, and this is my friend,
Benveer Thomason. I'm an 8th century Scottish Viking, high status, carrying a sword. This was a very high status symbol. Peter will go into this.
So, as you can see, these are real swords, as are all the weapons that we use. They're just blunted, so there's no sharp edge on them, but it is real steel, as you will see when we start to fight again momentarily. So all the weapons that we use, as I mentioned, are real steel, and we use everything from swords to axes, to Dane axes, to spears, to longbows, to slings. Pretty much every single weapon that the Vikings would have used, we also train and fight with. Now, obviously, our fighting is a little bit different, because a lot of the things that we do are acting. So because we aren't actually trying to kill each other, we have to make it safe. And the way that we do this is we telegraph our blows. So to talk about a bit about telegraphing is using your shoulder to really show where the movement is coming from. So this allows us to show our opponent what's happening. So when we do display fights and when we do large battles, to keep it safe, this is what we do. We do also do sport combat, which is a competition, and we don't telegraph our blows as much, so as to allow us to kill our opponent quite quickly and obviously win the fight. But we will now show you a quick display fight and show you how it works.
As you see, Scottish pride overrules. This Irish scumbag cannot stand up to the will of the Scotland.
So, as you can see, we really get into what we're doing and we have a lot of fun whilst doing it. And as Benveer has also alluded to, we all have our own characters. Now, these characters we create and we put into the timeline of history. So, for instance, I myself, I'm a late 9th century Viking lord, and I rule a group from Jorvik, which is now modern day York, in the centre of England. We have groups all over the country that do this form of reenacting, enjoy it and have fun. At the moment, the place that you are looking at is the wonderful Duncarron medieval village in Scotland. This place was formed by the Clanranald Trust, and has such famous visitors such as Russell Crowe, who helped to build this place. A lot of the stuff that we do also is not just about the fighting. We do a lot of things that involve the living history side of stuff. So whether this be cooking or crafting or sitting around and having a drink with friends around a fire, a lot of the crafting work that we do is all authentic craft. So I myself am a coin striker, and Benveer does some crafts as well.
I'm a leather worker and a brass worker, and this earns me a lot of money, hence the stasis. And I'm also a Thane of Jormungandr.
So you can pretty much choose to do whatever you wish to do and be whoever you want to be within the timeline of history. Everything that we do is totally authentic. We're not live action role players. We don't do LARPing. It's not a game in inverted commas. It is trying to live life as the Vikings did. We eat authentic food. We drink a lot of mead, and we have a really good time doing it. Thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the rest of your day.
The rest of your day? You mean the rest of our evening or the rest of our stream-a-thon?
Well, it's still mostly a day left. What do we got? 22 hours left? 23?
I'm gonna do a quick switch to the. This is the countdown. Look at that. That's the countdown. So
Well,
yay!
We have 9 hours left? No, that can't be right.
No, that's counting up. Sorry, not countdown. That's the counting up. So it's 9. We are in our 9th hour. So we do want to do a shout out. Thank you, Michael Aiken, for your donation. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you. Also, we have. Do we have another person? We don't. Okay. So thank you again, Michael, for your donation. You are lovely, and thank you for staying up with us. Even though I think you're on UK time, but that's okay. So let's do
local. I think he's local right now. I think he's home with the fam. Oh yeah. Link Strategies is DC based with an international reach.
Yeah, I'm impressed. I'm impressed, Michael. I'm impressed. So thank you for staying up with us. All right, so we're gonna go into our last video, which is, I believe, is the book. Our gentleman will be reading from his book, an excerpt. So let's roll. Let's get that video up and roll video.
And while we're waiting, text adventure 56651.
I don't hear a thing. Bring us back on. So we do have these on occasion where we have issues with the video. So we're going to stay here until we can get the sound fixed. Again, the book is Every Step is a Gift. It is about his experience with, I believe, cerebral palsy or
multiple sclerosis.
Multiple sclerosis. Oh, sorry. Apologies for everyone. Let's try again. Let's go ahead and roll. See how it goes. Let's see how sound goes. Nope, we're still having a problem with the sound. So this does happen.
It's the power of live.
Well, I'm also impressed. This only happened our first, which just because we're trying to figure this out, and then 2 other videos after that, because this is the second one, because we had an issue with one of our glitches in the video, and then this one. So I'm really impressed that we've only had 2 issues out of already 9.5 hours. So thank you all. We're gonna try to fix it, but because we hit up against time, we have maybe another minute before we can try to get this thing done, in. If we can't, then we are gonna have to move on because we're doing a handoff into our next set of hours. Block of hours, which when we hit midnight. So it's very Cinderella that way. Like
midnight.
Oh no, we're Leon's singing now. We're at that stage.
I'm well into my bag of candy here.
So let's try one more time. Let's see if it works. Yeah, I don't know why we're not able to hear it now. So,
well, producer says we've got a little bit of time for them to figure it out. So,
okay. Well, thank you very much, producer, as we try to figure this out.
So, what should we do? Do you know any card tricks?
Card tricks? Well, aren't you the magician? Aren't you the one that does all that stuff?
No, you would think. Like my 2 big regrets is not doing hand magic, close-up magic, and unicycle. Both of them are things that people presume I know how to do, but I do not.
Because I was at the Magic Castle in Los Angeles a lot because we had friends. We had friends who were part of that, as well as they had a cabaret series, which was really weird. So I went to the cabaret series with a lot of people who were singing the cabaret. So I ended up going to see that a lot. So it really is great. And if you are a meat eater, oh my goodness, So much food, and lots of large slabs of, unfortunately. And for all of you who are who are vegetarians, apologies.
Whenever you're ready, Vanessa.
Okay, so let's try this again.
Me as a caregiver to my dad, who had Parkinson's disease, and he battled Parkinson's for the last 23 years of his life. You know, it took over, but luckily I was able to be pretty directly involved in his care and his life toward the end, and I think that made a huge difference for him and for me. A couple of interesting notes about caregiving. 78%, according to AARP, 78% of people either are acting as a caregiver currently or believe they will serve as a caregiver at some point in their life. So chances are you know someone or you are someone who either has been or will be a caregiver. Building on that, the average age of caregivers in this country is about 49 years old. And the average duration that people spend as a caregiver is about 4 years. So I was a little unique here in that I started, I entered that role as a caregiver when I was 21 or 22. And, I actually spent 11 years in the role looking after my dad and supporting him. And so it was a little earlier than most. Pretty quickly found out that I was in way over my head and had to really just kind of figure out things as I went. When I talk about the story of the book, I'm also really talking about the story of my dad. So Dad was super outgoing, witty. He was a great judge of character. He had this amazing physical presence. He was a roller disco enthusiast, when he was younger. And when he lived in Manhattan, he spent most of his nights at a place called the Roxy, which was a roller disco. It doesn't really even exist anymore, that concept. The place certainly doesn't. But, he had, he was just super full of life, super active. And I think that's why it was really hard when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. The interesting thing is that, as I grew into this adult and I was taking care of my dad, I realized that we're in so many ways very similar. These are our high school yearbook photos, so when we were about 17, 18 years old, senior year. And you can see that physical resemblance, but, mannerisms, habits, behaviors, for better or worse, you sort of, when you enter that caregiver role for a parent, you realize how similar you are. It's fascinating to learn. My dad introduced me to running. Early on in my life. I was lucky that he exposed me to running, and I kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and by the time I was in high school I was able to make the JV, not the varsity, but the JV cross country team, which is great, and so he rubbed off on me in that way too. He was a triathlete up until he was diagnosed with Parkinson's right around age 50. So he kind of instilled in me that ethic and that desire to get into sports. Our relationship, like many others, was complicated. I think, kids have a complicated relationship with their parents. My dad, though, tried and did a really, really good job. This is like my 5th or 6th birthday where he dressed up as a Ninja Turtle, and I completely saw right through it. Was to start me crying because I expected Michelangelo, not Maury. And then, 20 years later, he's doing the same thing. So this is the first year he was in assisted living after I moved him from New Jersey down to Washington, D.C. to be closer to me, where I was going to grad school at the time. And I guess he couldn't get away from green. So this is him dressing up as the Incredible Hulk, and he covered himself with acrylic paint, which I was helping to scrub off him for many weeks after that. But my point is, I think, I entered caregiving with this thought of like, oh, maybe I could fix our relationship because it wasn't perfect. And maybe I could fix him because I think, like every child, I felt like, my dad could be better. But I realized that people don't change, and you sort of need to accept them for who they are and embrace that, and embrace the good along with the bad sometimes. So we became closer as I started looking after him. It doesn't mean it was easier. There were still lots of challenges. So my dad relied on a series of mobility assistance devices over the years. And as his Parkinson's progressed. And each time one of them was introduced, it was like this massive upheaval. It required multiple of these like very serious conversations where I had to come and tell my dad, like, this is really more for my well-being than for you. So please just help me out and, help me manage my own anxiety about you falling, essentially. I was, I didn't write about it in the book, but there was this sort of like awful and beautiful and kind of hilarious moment when I was getting rid of my father's motorized wheelchair. He just wasn't able to use it anymore. And I put the thing up on Craigslist, and I met this guy who happened to be another young guy, which was weird, who was in a caregiver role. I didn't meet a lot of other young caregivers, but I met this guy in the parking lot behind the assisted living place where my dad was living at the time. And we both kind of had this look at each other as, I sort of managed the transaction like life ain't fair, man. And we both kind of got it in that moment. But to be honest, I didn't have a lot of others that I could connect with. So those little moments where I found others in a similar role, those young caregivers that were also very much in over their heads, those were special moments. I want to do a short reading though, to talk about an adventure related to the rollator, which is sort of the second device here. You've got the walker on the left, then the rollator, which is sort of this combination walker and chair. And the context for this passage is that I visited my dad one day in August of 2009, where he was living at a place called the Hebrew Home, which, if you know Adventure Theater Academy, it's actually just down Rockville Pike off Montrose Road. And this story sort of takes place along Rockville Pike. So I visited my dad at the Hebrew Home, and he wanted to go to the movies. I didn't have a car, and he managed to convince me it was just a short walk to get there. So we'll join the action in the middle of our walk, on this really hot, humid summer day where my father's pills, his medication was wearing off, and we still had no idea how far we had to go to get to the movie theater. So let me find the place here. All right. So what do you think here? I asked, my head slightly cocked to the side, eyebrows raised, and hands on my hips. I think we're close, he responded. Oh, really? I thought. Unfortunately, I had little information at hand to either confirm or deny his projection. All right, you got it. I hoped he could sense the sarcasm in my voice. You ready to keep going? My father looked at me, remaining quiet for a few seconds. His silence was all the response I needed. Maybe I can push you for a little while. The words came out before I knew what I was suggesting. Sounds good. Let's try it, he said. I think my naivete got the best of me because I didn't even know if the rollator could function as a wheelchair. I figured I would give it a shot. I disengaged the brakes and I began pushing my father down the sidewalk. The wheels of the contraption were small and made of hard rubber. My father's shoulders vibrated as the walker rumbled over the rough concrete. Each crack between the sidewalk was like a reverse speed bump, a speed dip that forced him to perform a sudden involuntary nod. Albeit a rather bootleg means of conveyance, the walker appeared to be up to the task, and my father was able to remain fixed in the seat as I pushed. I could sense that we'd be tested as we approached our first intersection. The intersection was a small one-way road leading up to a merge with Rockville Pike. There was a yield sign for the traffic attempting to access the pike and a striped pedestrian crossing. A minivan was approaching the intersection, but it was slowing, and I made eye contact with the driver. One nice benefit to walking with my father anywhere was that drivers and pedestrians alike were incredibly courteous. I approached the curb cut in the sidewalk with caution, but also a dash of confidence. I figured that the best way to navigate the sidewalk to blacktop transition was to keep momentum. Unfortunately, my reasoning was flawed. I didn't see it, but the asphalt was an inch higher than the bottom of the curb cut. The 4-inch wheels on my dad's rollator were ill-equipped to handle the transition, and the downward slope of the sidewalk was setting us up for a high-speed collision with the edge of the pavement. From the instant when the front wheels struck the blacktop, time slowed down, as if to force me to endure the events that followed in hours rather than seconds. It seemed as if we'd hit a short, invisible wall. My father and the walker both tilted forward and upward instantly, rotating above the front wheels. I crashed into my father's back, adding to his momentum. Recognizing what was happening, I leaned my shoulders over his head and threw my hips backward to counteract the forward movement. My entire body was lifted off the ground with the upward force of the walker. Adrenaline surged as I feared my dad would fall face first into the roadway, my body crushing him as I followed. I desperately lifted my right leg backward, straight out, trying to slow our momentum. We came to a point where we were nearly balanced on the walker's front two wheels, paused halfway between salvation and disaster. My father was leaning forward at a near 45-degree angle, and me on top of him, now hopelessly flailing my entire body to prevent catastrophe. Miraculously, the momentum reversed, and we slowly descended, the rear wheels touching down on the sidewalk with a mechanical thud. The driver waiting for us to cross must have initially been wrapped with fear, but then shortly after wept with joy, having borne witness to the tragic comedy we just put on. Though I didn't glance over, I wanted to think he was sitting mouth agape behind the wheel, slowly beginning a slow clap as we regained our footing. I just wished he could have taken video of the whole incident so I could have seen it from his perspective. I think this event kicked my father back into gear. Maybe it accelerated the rate that his medication spread back into his bloodstream. Perhaps he was scared I might inadvertently dump him out of his walker onto the street again. Regardless, he was ready to start walking on his own. I helped him out of the walker, now with all four wheels on the ground, and we were back on our way. So that's just a taste of the adventures of, taking care of my dad. Caregiving is not always so clean and well-defined. Sometimes it's messy, and you're basically on the brink of disaster, as I was in a moment like that. So the story isn't just about caregiving, it's also about my foray into endurance sports and finding my personal meaning and purpose as a caregiver by sort of balancing that role with my own adventures. And I got to a really pivotal point as a caregiver when I broke my ankle in 2012. I suddenly felt more like my dad than I ever had. I was dependent in ways that made me really uneasy, and I had these moments that I was like really certain I would just become him one day. It was irrational, but I was really feeling sorry for myself and kind of wallowing. But in response, as soon as I recovered, I decided to make the most of my able-bodiedness. I'd watched my father decline, and it was super humbling. And I'd been there sort of temporarily, and it instilled this raw sense of urgency, and so I needed to move. What did I do? I got on my bike from Washington, D.C., and I rode it all the way to Seaside, Oregon. And the trip became this really important series of moments in my life. I took 3 months to step away as a caregiver, recharge, refresh, and frankly reconnect with what I love, which was at that time riding my bike and traveling. It was beautiful because I stepped away from that existence that I had at the time to do something completely different. I took a huge risk leaving my job, but I pushed myself into the unknown and ended up getting so much in return. So the hardest part of returning from something like that, this epic adventures, cross-country bike ride, is resisting a return to ordinary. I had this desire to channel all this new energy I had and to push myself and show appreciation for my health, my mobility. And so, I kind of tried my hand at this long distance biking thing, loved it, but I wanted to see about running. So a few weeks after getting back from that, I signed up for the Baltimore Marathon and felt good finishing that. And then in the 15 months following that, I worked my way up from the marathon distance to 50 Ks and then 50 milers and eventually to running a 100-mile race. So I became really invested in this ultra endurance running stuff, and found a lot of joy doing that. So the book talks about those adventures and sort of imparts a bunch of lessons, but I wanted to share a few before I say goodbye, hand you off to the next folks in the Stream-a-thon. As much as I think caregivers are heroes, there's also limitations to what they can do. And your limits are different, depending on who you are. I realized I got to a point where I needed to sort of break free And I used the biking and running as a way to find balance and set aside time for myself. Also learned to accept support. I was really not good at asking for help. I think I felt really isolated because I was young as a caregiver. And I thought maybe I could do it by myself and I didn't need help. And I think that made things worse. And as I got older, I learned to lean on more people and tap those resources and those support structures more actively. And that means a whole lot of difference. Embrace your tunnel. So the cover of the book is actually a throwback to a tunnel that I encountered on my bike ride across the country. You can read about that. But this notion of the tunnel as this sort of purest form of the challenge, you enter into these into these moments of obscurity and darkness and doubt, but eventually there's light, and that gives way to a new beginning and to transformation and to hope. So embrace that tunnel, that dark space, and work steadily toward your light, however you define it. And then last is own your story. I wasn't really good at telling my story for a very long time, and wasn't able to talk about caregiving or Parkinson's or having a dad with a disability or not having a traditional family structure. But when I was able to get over that, I was able to wield my story as something that was powerful and a point of pride. And owning that story is sort of a small act of control that has given me confidence and, like I said, been empowering. So find out what your story is, own it, refine it, and take pride in it. Just a thank you. Thanks for spending some time with me and giving me a chance to share a little bit about my journey. And please reach out. If you see this and you say, man, I would love to have a conversation with Josh, that's my email. And that's my handle on the right for Twitter and Instagram.
Wow. Thank you, Josh. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. We are, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, we have to do a switch over. Every 2 hours, we need to switch from one feed to the next. If you're watching on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, or on the ClickBid site, just give it a minute, hit refresh, the new video will show up. If you're watching on Facebook, on our Facebook channel, same thing. Otherwise, go to the Adventure Theater Facebook channel and the new video will show up in about 60 seconds. So again, we're switching over the feed. Just give it a minute and then hit refresh, and then we will be back with you very quickly. While we're waiting, don't forget to make a donation to Adventure. Text Adventure to 56651. If you haven't made it yet, please make a donation by texting Adventure to 56651. We'll see you very shortly on the other side of the switchover.